Hello and welcome to this edition of Illuminated Design. Today, our theme, our focus is going to be the Root Hub. The Root Hub has been our theme inside the inner circle for this past month. We're doing our Thrive by Design journey, and inside that container, we already did our embodiment webinar. And then this week we're doing live chart readings for some of the participants inside the inner circle. So they had the opportunity to submit their charts, and we picked a couple winners. We're going to do 3 people today, and we're going to focus exclusively on the root. Now, your chart is holistic, so we obviously are going to be weaving the root with other centers and like the design in its totality, but our point of entry is going to be the root. And we're going to talk about, what it means to have different gates defined, talk about what does it mean to have a completely open root, as one of our members has, and along with other things. And they submitted questions as well as focus, and it goes really well with the Root Hub. So today, I'm excited to start these Illuminated Design readings again. Each month, you'll see us coming in live to do these. If you do want to be part of the inner circle, you have the opportunity to join and to submit your chart so that you could be selected to be a winner for these chart readings that we do each month. So super excited about doing that. Are we streaming inside the inner circle? Do you know?
Let me make sure.
Okay, since this is for them.
Yay, we're live there. And 3 people are already inside.
Yay, perfect. Okay, so we worked on picking the people today. Some of you guys submitted last minute. We picked a couple of you, 3 of you today. And I worked on that this morning. And because the theme is the Root Hub, I worked out this morning, and then I didn't have time to shower or do any of that stuff. And I thought it's more important for me to work out than it is for me to take a shower and put on makeup and do all that stuff. So I chose that to give myself that good foundation and stability this morning. Did you do your practice this morning, Bella, for your root?
Yeah, I did some dance, and then I did a lot of like working from the elliptical, and then I did some chest. So I'm worked out too.
Yay! And you're wearing red lipstick. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so let's dive into the charts. We're going to spend maybe 10-15 minutes on each of these charts. So let's get started. Okay, so the first winner is Robin Krauser. She's been with us for quite a while. She's been in a couple of our different containers. She's in BBD with us. And Robin is a 2-4 emotional generator. Emotional because she has that emotional center defined, and that is the first thing we look at when we're looking at inner authority. And she's a cross of explanation, which means that she has the translator as her life's work. She has the rebel, which I think we finished the transit. We might have a little bit of time left today in this transit of the rebel. Then she has the revolutionary, and she has the philosopher in her cross, and this is the cross of explanation. What we do notice here is that she has a defined root. Defined means colored in, so you can say defined, colored in. It's activated. She has consistent energy here, and within this center, within this hub, she has the 58, which we call the vital, the 60, which we call the magician, and she happens to have the whole channel of mutation with the 60 and the 3. The 3 we call the eternal child. And then she also has the originator. This is archetype 41. She happens to have the whole channel. The channel is defined. This is the channel that makes her an emotional generator, because she has this channel with the originator and the fire starter. And because the channel is defined, it makes her solar plexus defined and her root defined. So this is what makes her an emotional generator. And you can see that she has a lot of activation below the throat. She has like this openness in the middle, and then a lot of her definition is down here. So remember, your inner authority is emotional. It's not mental. But what society conditions us to do is to be and hang up here. She does happen to have her life's work and evolution up here. So there is more of a pull to kind of hang out in this area because it's so prominent in her chart. So anyways, root defined, 3 gates within the root. Bella, where do you feel like you want to dive into first?
I am drawn to all these open, completely open centers, because the thing that we often say when they're completely open centers, it seems like when the person comes to a certain level of awareness or a certain frequency, this is where you're going to actually give back your genius to the world. It's as though the soul has already worked out those centers before, and it comes down here and it forgets, of course. So often in the beginning of our lives, we feel a lot of the not self from the open centers, the confusion, the doubt, and even psychosis from the head center, or the outsourcing your life or your identity on somebody else in your G center, or the fact that worthiness might not even be a thing that you can really wrap your head around. So there might be things where you're over promising, overdoing for others because you want to be valued, and you also want to kind of show that you're good enough. So I feel like those 3 centers in the beginning of your life might have been where you were living, maybe even more than in your head and your ashna. And really what I feel is that you're going to actually, I mean, I know that you're part of our Business by Design program. So I think where you're giving back to the world is, helping to pull us out of the confusion and the doubt, and instilling this inspiration and the continuous inquiry and imagination of what's possible. I also feel like you are learning, and I know a little bit about your family and some of your family members. It feels like you have very much kind of done a lot for them and kind of pampered their worldview in some way, because maybe that was the easiest way of doing it. You're a Taurus, and you kind of like, I don't know, it feels like you want things to, even if you have an emotional center that is defined, it feels like you want things to be nice, and maybe that is the open ego. So I feel like you're learning to be you're learning to be doing your direction, whatever that means, whoever doesn't agree with that. And I think that that's the combination of the completely open G and the completely open ego. You're here to learn to live for you. You're here to learn to go in your direction. You're here to be okay with other people not being so happy. And I see the channel 5027 that I feel goes together with that Taurus lives work, that you are a very nurturing person. I know sometimes on the courses, I feel like, oh, Ashley and I, we went really far out here. And then I see your face and you smile. And right away, I feel like nurtured. And I feel like, okay, we are all together, and we can like smile at, if we're out there, we can smile. There's very much a nurturing around you that I feel is super powerful. But I think that what we want you to do is to nurture yourself. And then, I think Ashley disappeared. So I can't see her chart anymore. But what I think that let's see if I can pull it up. No, I don't have it. So when you have a defined root center, I want you to come down there. I want you to do all those exercises that we have in the hub of the root center, to really come down into your generator truth, which is the 3 lower centers, and not live from your openness or live from your head and your ajna. I think that you're very good at explaining things with the 23-43 between the head and the ajna, but your authority is emotional and your aura type is generator. So we really need you to be in the bottom of your chart. We need you to be in your sacral, grounded in your root. We need you to listen to your intuition in your splenic center. And we need you to also listen to your own emotions and not think that that's too much, that you should be nice, or that you should be a little bit more flexible with the direction of where, maybe your family members or some of the things that you need to do, how other people think the things should be done. I agree with the completely open G center that you're here to live many love stories. but it's really that it is about you as a Taurus that has the kind of fixedness in it, deciding this is a love story I want to live. This is the thing that feels grounded for me. These are the things I want to nurture. I think that is super important. And this week, now we are the 16th. On the 19th, we have the lunar eclipse in Taurus, and in its Taurus Scorpio's opposition. So here I feel that topic of worthiness, whatever that is in your life, with that completely open ego and your life's work in Taurus, I think it is a moment this week, and the eclipses can have influence like months from now. But I believe it's a moment, a possibility. The nodes are going to be in Taurus and Scorpio now for a year and a half. So I think it's a time for you to look at your worthiness. What are you nurturing? Who are you nurturing? What love stories are you living? How can you use that 2343 to really be the genius for the people that can hear you? You're 2-4, so you're here to be natural, and you're here to be with the people that just love you. You know, that's the fourth line on the what is it called? On the design side. That's those people are your environment. You want to be with people that you can breathe around. You want to be with people that you can be yourself with. I can't see your chart anymore, but I do know that you have individual circuitry in that 2343, and I think you had the 60 or the 3. So there is individual circuitry. I want you to be you. And I want you to be with people that naturally resonate, so you don't feel all the melancholy that is there in the individual circuitry. And I think I will need Ashley to come on, or let's see, maybe I do have your chart on my phone. Let's see what's happening. Internet. Oh, Ashley got kicked off. I'm asking her if she can come back. That's the cool thing with the lives. Okay, it's not connecting. Well, I'm going to pull up your chart on my phone, even if I can't share it, because I want to say something about, yeah, so what I do see, and we'll put the chart somewhere, but you have a 6 line in your culture, a 6 line in your SQ, and a 6 line in your EQ. So there is something with you that even if you are this 2-4, this natural person that's there, just kind of in naturalness with us, I think there's really a depth too, with a depth and a vision that you have. And I feel emotionally, and maybe that goes together with a little that I know of some of the situations you've had. I think you have a vision of what's possible emotionally between people with that 37-6. So that kind of Jesus tenderness. And then the 6th line that is also, so it's a visionary, and it's both kind of deep and broad in its perspective. So I wonder, how can you find people in your life so that you can retrain your nervous system? And that little girl who is 7 to 14 and maybe didn't have that tenderness, maybe didn't have that respect and reverence in relationships, how can you find those people that naturally are like that, so that you can retrain your nervous system and trust that? Because that is part of the Venus sequence. What we do is we reclaim all these spheres, the core, the SQ, the EQ, the IQ, so that you can live like a whole person, and not that your nervous system and that your being is fragmented. So that feels like a super important thing. And then for the SQ, for reclaiming the SQ, it's the 60.6. So I think as a little girl, even younger, up to the age of 7, what were the perceived limitations that the little girl, that she didn't like maybe? And when was it that she didn't get enough time, space, and patience? Because the 6th line child is a very sensitive child, and it needs its own timing, its own space. So how can you be a parent from that child? Give it beautiful banks of the river so she can feel safe, but not limit her. How can you be that parent that is a role model in the 6th line, that gives the time, the space, understands the sensitivity of the inner child, and can make the container, the structure so magical, so that it becomes like, it's magical realism. I love Jodorowsky and those Latin American authors that write about magical realism. And I think that's with a 2-4. You don't need so much to create magic. You need your banks of the river, which is also your boundaries with other people. And who do you nurture first with that Taurus natural nurturing that you have? I think Ashley's back. Let's see. Maybe we can just, yeah, Ashley's back.
Sorry about that. I got a message.
I found it on my phone after a while.
Oh my God. I got a message from the universe. So whenever this happens, I'm like, why? What am I not hearing? Why did you kick me off? So I'll share that message in a little bit, but
maybe just pull up her. I think
yes.
We have said most of the things. I just want people to like see the chart and just 1 minute of like kind of what I was going through. Perfect. So let's see if I can make it a little bigger. So we said quite a lot of individual circuitry, 43, 23, 14, 3, and 60 there in the middle, and also the 28 twice. So there can be melancholy, there is individual circuitry. You want to be around people that see your genius. And then it's important for you to not hang out in the openness or in the ajna in the throat. We want you to be grounded in your root, in your sacral, because you're a generator. You are an emotional authority. So be with emotions, see the colors of life through emotion. And then the last 2 spheres I was speaking about, the SQ 60.6, that sensitive child, and then the EQ 37.6, that respect, that tenderness in relationship. Give yourself that so that your whole Venus sequence can come back to wholeness. Because we really often, we live from our IQ, trying to avoid the core wound. And we forget to include the SQ, the EQ, and the attraction, because there are things that might have happened sexually, physically, emotionally, that were hard. So we kind of cut off that part of the chart. So these 2 things with parenting the sensitive child and in relationship, be around people that have naturally those qualities of tenderness and respect is going to help you to reclaim all the parts of you and to live and feel safe in the world.
Wonderful. Okay. So again, with the root, stability, grounding, anchoring, you have a lot of definition down here. So in order for you to live out your genius of your openness and not get pummeled by everybody else's identity, sense of self-worth, and psychosis, doubt, and all that stuff, you have to be grounded in yourself. And that's going to require you to know what you're putting your energy towards. It's going to require you to allow that mutation to happen within your life, closures to happen, deaths to happen, and for you to come back to yourself and then always begin anew and tap into like, what do I desire? What do I require? What do I want? And letting that emotional fuel you and not living completely for the other. So bringing it back down to the root. So yeah, thank you so much, Robin, for submitting your charts and allowing us to dive deep into that. If anybody else is interested and curious about the Thrive by Design journey that we're taking, there is a masterclass. We'll post the link for the inner circle in the comments. If you're interested in that, you can say, I'm interested. There's a Thrive by Design masterclass on there where we go through all of these hubs, all of these centers. And again, we are in the root hub this month. Next month, we're moving into the solar plexus. And you can join us and have the opportunity to get your chart read as well. Okay. Let's move on to our next friend. All right, so we have Louise. She is a 5-1 splenic projector. She is a completely open root.
She's a generator.
I mean, sorry, not a projector, a generator. I don't know why I put that as a generator. And she's not a splenic. I don't know why I put that. Oh, because I was looking at another chart. Anyways, she is an emotional generator because she has the sacral, the solar plexus center, and the splenic center defined. So that's what makes her an emotional generator. So you can see that she only has 4 centers defined. She has a lot of openness, and the root and the head are pressure centers, and both of those are completely open. They are undefined. And if this is the source of pressure, and like Bella said with the last chart, that it seems like our souls have worked through these themes in other lifetimes where we are becoming masters and wise about these. So she must have experienced a lot of mental pressure and root stress. So she's here to feel that with the other and not react to it, more so respond and help people with their stress, mental stress and pressure that they feel. So yeah, is there anything you want to jump into about the completely open route before we kind of start weaving things in, Bella?
Yeah, I mean, you did mention the defined route in the other chart. I think with the open route or the completely open route, the important thing is what is worth hurrying for. You need to ask yourself that question, because you're going to have the pressure, because it's a pressure center. You're going to have the pressure to hurry, and it's going to feel possibly that the pressure from the outside, that really the best way out of it is to hurry up and finish whatever the pressure is, whatever you're asked for, so you can be free. But the whole thing is there's always going to be another pressure. And especially if people know that you are a 5-1, that you're really practical, that you're really intelligent, once they realize that you finish things really fast, they're just going to ask you for more things. So here it's really that question. As a generator, your most important asset is your energy. So you want to know at the end of the day that you feel satisfied with how you have used your energy. So that's why you want to ask yourself, is this worth hurrying for? Or is it just making me frustrated to feel like I'm running around trying to get rid of pressure just for more things to come in? So really, really look at that. And of course, everything that has to do with stress management is important for you, because at the end of the day, pressure and stress, that's the same thing. Here we have biologically the adrenals. So it is that adrenaline, that stress, that pressure. And we know, we need it, but it's not good when it's there all the time. We need it to be able to do something, like to get out of somewhere if there is a danger, or to maybe, for deadline is good, but it's not something that we want to use all the time, because then it's going to have the whole system come out of balance. So stress management, understanding when you're hurrying and why you're hurrying, super important with open route.
Mm-hmm. Always having that ability to check in. You can see that we have two centers that are kind of reaching for the root. You have the game changer archetype with the 55, and it's reaching for the 39. And so whenever you're feeling like you like checking in, like Bella was saying, what am I hurrying for? Why am I hurrying? Whose hurry is this? Like who around me is feeling stressed? Because we can often just, especially if you're a supporter and you're in the savior archetype, especially being a 5-1, you may just unconsciously take other people's stuff, because also you're wanting to dissolve that. You're wanting to just do it so that you don't have to feel their stress anymore. You don't have to feel that pressure anymore. So it's about you being able to tune into like, what are the blockages? What needs to be liberated? What is going to give you that sense of freedom and feeling into and liberating, that spirit of yourself and that emotionality that you have. So it is reaching for the 39. You don't have the 39, but maybe you're going to be attracting people that do have that, to give you that definition. Anywhere that we do have the hanging gates, we're going to attract the opposite end. And so I think too, with your 9 and your focused energy, right? Bringing in the 52 is when you're able to pause and get that bigger picture, right? Get that mountain view of things. Because when you're in the thick of it, you may not even realize where that stress is coming from. And you may be operating off of somebody else's stress, or you may be hurrying to get that stress and pressure off of you. So whenever you take a moment and like actually tune into that mountain archetype and allow yourself to get that overview, you can transform that stress. It's almost like if this is like a whirlpool or a funnel, right? You're going to be taking it in completely. There's nothing of you that is influencing that stress and that pressure and that fuel that can come from the root to then power the sacral and all the other centers. So what I would suggest is play with and practice that art of meditation and stillness, and like feel in the totality of that stress, because you're able to just channel that and bring that through. And I think that having a healthy relationship with it and not being swayed by it, and almost being like in the center of the storm instead of being in the vortex of the tornado, you're going to be able to have a lot more observation, a lot more power, and a lot more control over that, instead of you being swept away consistently with that stress, with that pressure, and then you feeling like you need to do something about it or fix it, and then you can burn out from that. So that's what I would say about that. And then the last thing I would say about having a completely open route as well is that it's important for you to know that as you're working on things, and you have the 9, and the 9 is the mountaineer, it's little steps, little by little by little. You can decide what's your goal for today. And once you hit that goal, you have that satisfaction that you're feeling, and you can put it down. Because as soon as you sit down and stop doing the project you're doing, it's going to be really hard for you to start it back up, because you don't have that root energy. You do have the motivation inside of the will center, so you can muster the will to keep going. But as soon as you put a project down, it's going to be hard to start it again, because it's almost like that root is like that Kickstarter or that go, it's going to put the fuel in your engine, and your engine's going to go. But as soon as you sit down, it's kind of like, okay, I'm done for the day. So don't beat yourself up if you don't finish everything you want to finish. If at the end of the day you sit down, you're like, oh, I can't get started again, I'm just so exhausted. It is what it is. And just know that if you set manageable goals, you don't need to beat yourself up at the end of the day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have a completely open head and a completely open root. So there is something there too with, you can show the world how to deal with pressure, probably. And you have that powerhouse archetype that we are actually in it already. We're in line 1 of the powerhouse. So it's your birthday in a few days. And here we have power, pure power. And in a way, it's power for good or for bad. So if you have the 14.5 and you go into greed, because this has to do with money and resources, and in a low frequency, it is going to be about me and my money. And that can, yeah, it's the low energy of money, where it's not for the whole. It's not. So I believe there, it's funny with your profile, you are really powerful. And I think that some people might not understand your tenderness. When we look at your attraction, what you're here to live in relationship is exactly that same activation as Robin had in her EQ. It's tenderness and respect and reverence and even innocence, staying with the beauty of what it is to be in an animal body, in having a human heart and having a creator mind. There you have that very vast way of seeing what's possible for a human sexual being. And the 37 is also that kind of tender energy. So for me, it's super important. These teachings are probably super important for you, because you're going to break through from that 14.5 together with the 8.5. That would be, you just being super powerful in the world. I would say the 14 is probably the most powerful hexagram. The 5th line, it's the ruler of the whole hexagram. So we are going to see you, we're going to feel your power. But really, when you break through from the evolution to the radiance and into your core stability, you have that 59 that is about intimacy, that is about your inner freedom. So I feel like your chart is really going to start to kind of, possibly as all charts, but it's when you do the work, your chart is going to be even more amazing than it was before. And you actually have the 59 in the SQ as well, and then you have the 46, which is the central. Like, there is so much juiciness in the middle of your chart, but I think you could have been conditioned as a 5-1 to kind of live out your pearl without living out all the juiciness that is there in the Venus, because that would be the leadership in the 31. It would be the 34, kind of four things in a certain direction, and then you kind of have the overview with a 6-line pearl of everything. So I believe it's so important for you to come again, we have a similar thing with a lot of things around the sacral and the emotional and the splenic. It's being in your body first, being in your, doing the Venus work, the body work first, and then I think your pearl can be amazing. But you could kind of be, you could become a machine if you were conditioned from the pressure of the head and the root to become just somebody who does a lot of cool stuff on the outside, but maybe doesn't feel so fulfilled on the inside and in the intimate relationships.
Yeah. And as we're moving into this transit today, this is the gate of power skills, and it is possession in great measure. It is having a lot of things, but what you can count on consistently in your design is what is defined. And so the power of your sacral, the power of your sensuality, the power of your creativity, the power of your emotional competency, the power of you being able to know how to resource yourself. What tools do you have when you're on a wave? How do you embrace this wave? How do you move through it and sit with it? And the same thing with your intuition and your instinct, tapping into that. These are all skills that you have. And then the ability with that 4426 to smell out the talents in other people and know where to position them and know what to sell to them, know what they need, and be able to express that. And with that being able to be a transmitter of a message that is really going to touch people. And it's going to be the ability for you to tap into what's consistent with you, what you've worked with on a consistent basis that's defined in you. And then also, where have people plugged into you and how have you learned from the openness so that you can then use that as your experiential learning, right? This is who you are. And this is what you learn in relation. And like Bella was saying, in relation, it's very juicy. There's a lot of soft, beautiful energy inside that Venus sequence. And so to utilize that is what's going to help you rise to that, power and leadership. It's like you do have that fifth line mental ability, but there's something about the softness. You can be hard when you need to be, but you can be soft as well. And that's what's going to be important, is to be that mother archetype, that leader, that has that soft way, but is not going to be taken advantage of and is not taking any crap either. So it makes you more approachable as well and more impactful. So
yeah, I think there's just one more thing. I see there are a lot of penta gates that are hanging. You're a 5-1, and sometimes a 5-1 that is so powerful, especially with a 14 in the life's work, you might actually feel like, oh, nobody can kind of live up to my standards. But really what I see when I look at all the gates in the middle pillar between the throat and the G and the sacral, you have 5 hanging gates that are part of the 12 penta gates. So I think that it's really when you come into a team where you're going to create 5 electromagnetics with somebody else from those hanging gates, that you are going to be able to completely live out. And I read I can't remember, I think it was the 64 Ways and not the Gene Key book, the original Gene Key book, where Richard is speaking about the unit. That because 14 is really one of the main pentagate together with the 2, the keeper of the keys. So really it is in the unit of 3 to 15 people, that kind of sized group, that they say that the 14 can actually change the world, because it does it through the penta. So look at the groups. I would say if you're in any group of people where you work with or where you spend a lot of time, I would definitely make the penta charts. We can post the genetic matrix link if you don't have it, so that you can make those charts, because that's going to be where I feel like you're going to feel the most empowered, and not like you have to take all the responsibility on your shoulders and do everything. In the penta, with people that have a 7, the 1, the 29, the 2, and the 15. Those are the electromagnetics where 1 + 1 is more than 2. And probably also where the pressure is suddenly not just on you, but it's beautifully like distributed in the penta with the people. And it's like the penta that is kind of carrying the work and not any individual alone.
Yay. Well, hopefully we'll be able to go more in depth into Penta and that kind of exploration in the future as well, because it seems like it just keeps coming back up. So stay tuned for that as we move forward with the Penta, because I think that with Synarchy, it's about teamwork and how do you operate in a team really is indicative with the Pentagates that Bella was talking about, the channels that you have going from the G here in the center column. So wonderful. Okay, so I hope that resonated, Louise. And again, Louise is a emotional generator, not a splenic projector. I'm wondering too that you've seen two charts. One had a defined root, one had a completely open root. What kind of root do you have? What's in your chart? Do you have a defined root? Do you have an open root? What are the archetypes that you have in here? If you do know our archetype language. Otherwise, what are the gates that you have within the root? And what resonated with you for you as we were going through these different charts. We have one more chart to go into today. But again, if you are interested in diving into the root with us, there's still time to join the inner circle and be able to have all of that juicy information about the root. We are going to be posting the teaching for the root next week. And so you'll have the teaching, these chart readings, and you'll also have the embodiment exercise that we did in the beginning of this month, or last week. Wow.
And we also do 20-minute readings that are like a really good price, I would say, where you actually don't even need to be with us. It's an intake form, and we kind of look at your chart for 20 minutes and send you the recording. So if you like this kind of like us just looking at the chart and whatever is coming up, that's also a possibility.
Yeah, that's called Illuminated Design as well. So we're going to start doing these series again called Illuminated Design with a specific theme. So we're going into the root here. But if you do an Illuminated Design reading with us, you will have the opportunity to kind of say, what is it that you want us to focus on? Okay. And we'll post that link for Illuminated Design and then for Thrive by Design as well. All right, let's move on to our last. So then we have Heather. Heather has been with us for a while as well. She's another 5-1, and she's a sacral generator. So that means that she has her sacral defined. She's a sacral generator, and she's the cross of incarnation. So within her root, she has the magician, and she has the mountain. She has this whole channel, right, with the mountain and the mountaineer. And this allows her to be able to give that focused energy and also zoom out to see the bigger picture. So it's like focus and zoom out, because oftentimes if we only have the 9, we can get kind of like this ADD energy. We're like focused on this and then focused on this and this, and it's like really zoomed in. And you could be like, the example that I like to give for this is that if you have the 9, but you don't have the 52, you could be like really fixated on the fact that you have a flat tire. And so you're like, I need to change this tire. This tire needs to be fixed. But if you don't have the 52 to kind of zoom out and be like, okay, what's the bigger picture here? I don't have an engine in my car. So my car isn't even going to run if I put on this, tire. So like the 9 wants to put all this detail focused energy on things, and it's consistent step by step here. We're moving towards something. But if you don't have the ability to look at the bigger picture, then you could be moving towards something that's not even like supportive of you and your energy. You're just like trying to be focused on this and finish the task and get to the top of the mountain, when it's like, oh, but I'm supposed to be over here swimming in this lake, but I'm trying to climb this mountain. So anyways, that's kind of how I like to describe that for me. So again, a lot of openness. Seems like a lot of openness, and then everything's kind of in the lower extremities, right? We have the root, the sacral, and then we have the spleen, the splenic, and the will center. This is a split definition. And that means that these two are separate from these two. So there's no energy that's kind of moving from the sacral to the spleen or the root to the spleen to connect these together. So this is a split definition. Okay, so where should we start?
Where I want to go is maybe a little bit complex, but it's almost like a beautiful paradox. So when we look at your incarnation cross, the 24, the 44, the 13, and the 7, this is a fixed cross. What does that mean? It means that when we look in the wheel where the cross falls, because the cross comes from actually using the red mandala or the astrological wheel, and you're going to see a cross where those 4 gates are. It falls in Taurus, in Scorpio, in Aquarius, and in Leo. And these are all fixed signs. It's all the 4 elements and it's fixed signs. There's a fixedness in that. You also have all the variables pointing to the left, which is strategic and focus. So there's kind of a fixedness there too, of focus on something. And then at the same time, you have an open G. So you are here to live all the different love stories and adventures of life. And also you have an open emotional center. So you're here to kind of feel a lot of emotion. I would say there's something here where I believe that your challenge somehow comes from being open in your G and your emotional, but having so many activations, so much is going on there. So maybe your stability, your fixedness can be kind of feel like it's like a little bit scrambled around by, okay, what's my direction? Who am I? What should I choose? And as a 5-1, you probably, you can do so many things. It almost feels like you can do so many things. You can be a spokesperson for so many things. You can think so many different perspectives. So what do you choose? And then on the emotional plane, the same thing. You're a sensitive emotional being, but you have so much that's pulling you emotionally in your life. So here I would go back to what Ashley said, you have this definition in the bottom of your chart. The only way for you to know where you want to be fixed and where you want to be open, kind of, in the way that is correct for you, it is to hang out where you have your definition. It is to be grounded in your root. It is to have an intention for everything you do and to know that you don't climb the mountain in one day, but you are going to arrive there if you also enjoy the journey. Having Taurus as your life's work, it wants to enjoy the journey. It wants to smell the flowers on the way. It wants to be in nature. It has very much of that. The 44 is your evolution. It wants to meet other people, your soul fractal, live there in little town on the way up the mountain. That is super important. And it's also from this groundedness that I believe that your leadership in the 7 and the 13 is going to come. There is a leadership that wants to be spoken to you, but we need you to be home in your generator truth, in your groundedness, in your splenic discernment of things, which is what's good for you, what's not good for you in the moment. You want to be true to that in every single moment. And then it's going to be easier to know the love story that you're here to live, the voice that you're here to speak. And it feels interesting too that both your Mercury and your Sun, so your life's work and your sphere of relating, are both that 24. So you're here to rationalize. You're here to kind of have insights and bring inspiration to the world, and possibly as a 5-1 in some kind of practical way that nobody thought about before, that can touch many people. And the last thing I'm going to say, because I see your vocation, I think still that the challenge can be the love stories that can take you in places that you didn't expect, and the emotions. That's the challenge. And then so the 2.5, which is your vocation, tells you need to trust it, even when it becomes messy, even when it feels like this was where you wanted to go and your life does this before you come here. It's that 2.5 that says I'm trusting it. I trust the fear. I trust the long way I had to take to get there. I trust everything, basically. That's what the second Jinky says. And that's going to be you, it's going to be you learning to say that. And I think that your Venus is 36.6. So I think you're going to attract kind of a lot of turbulence somehow or going together with that open emotional center, in order for you to be like, okay, there's nothing else I can do than trusting everything. That's going to be the only way.
Oh, that's a hard lesson. Okay, there's nothing I can do. I just need to trust everything. Yeah, that's what you kind of value that emotional turbulence. You may like have this secret addiction to it because it makes you also feel alive, and it also has you connected to other people, and you want to gather with other people. So you could be drawing in conflict so that you can gather with other people, so that you can share feelings and emotions and relating with other people. And when you can be objective about the drama, that revolution can come. it can transform. The relationship can be rebirthed, but you have to be the eye of the storm, like we said with Luis. Like, you have to be the eye of the storm. You can't get wrapped up in the emotional waters where you are just like spinning around in the tornado. You have to learn to be the stillness in the emotionality, stillness in the changing identities, because you don't have a fixed identity. And if your purpose, if your foundation is all about your inner guidance, but your inner guidance here, your identity is inconsistent, you could be wrapped up and swept up by other people's direction because that direction isn't consistent for you. So just going back to kind of like, what ignites you, what sparks you, what do you feel enlivened about, and what do you want to put your focused energy towards, and who do you want to gather around? What army are you building, and what is your revolution? If you're here to network with people that have a similar revolution as you do, then that's who you're calling in. And it may be turbulent in the beginning, but it's like we're letting those people in. And you can see that we have the 60 and the SQ, and the EQ is in the root as well. Two of the gates in your Venus are in the root. This is a theme for you about security, about safety. How can you trust and feel safe when you don't have this consistent identity, and when emotions are swirling around and we have all this, mental pressure here coming in from the outside, and then your expression isn't defined? That's where we start to get swayed, is when we try to put all of our energy in this openness, when it's just about you being grounded in your body and being tapped into your intuitions, like what feels right, what feels juicy, what do I want to do right now? And like that rationalization in the mind could really take you out of the body. That was a lot. And yeah, but okay. Well, I hope that resonated. I know that you were asking about business, financial direction. And I think that in terms of your root, because this is where we're going to get our stability, this is where we're going to transform our foundation. It's going to take a lot of your ability to sit in the uncomfortable energy here and be like, okay, these are all the cards on the table. What do I have to work with? And what is giving me that kind of like spark, that burst, and like allowing yourself to kind of make magic with what you have, and then calling in that team too. You're not here to do it alone. You're here to call in, like, decide what that revolution is, and then call in the people that are going to support that. And when you can, this is very defined, right? The transmitter. Luis had this as well. You're going to be able to transmit any message, but you got to get clear on what your message is. And that message comes from, what's consistent in you. Your identity is not consistent. Neither is your voice, your manifestation, the way that you think. You're not here to know or be certain of anything. What you are here to be consistent with is your grounding inside yourself and this life force energy. So like, what is juicy and exciting for you now may not be the case tomorrow. And you don't want to limit yourself by trying to grasp for consistency when the waters are flowing and the river is going and it's changing all the time. So just allow your body to like swim and play in the water, and know that the water is never the same. It changes all the time. You're not swimming in a lake. You're in a river that's flowing. So just be connected to your body and know that you're going to follow your bliss. That's it.
There's one thing I want to say here too about the trajectory. So your south node 12 and 45, that's Gemini energy. And then the north node 11 and 26, that is Sagittarius energy. And that's where the node have been. They are still there. There's changing signs soon, but you have had like the flip. So it has been the north node that was Gemini and the south node that was Sagittarius. I think there might have been some things the last year that kind of have been where you have had to reevaluate when things have kind of felt upside down. So there has been this nodal shift that seems important for you. And what I want to say here when it comes to business is that I think that with the South Node in Gemini, I think that you have been that kind of person that tries to do a lot of things, that tries to communicate, like that Gemini energy of analyzing, of communicating, of being logical, all these things that you think that that's the way that you're going to make money. But when you have Sagittarius at your north node, it's about belief. It's not always logical. So there is something here where I kind of just want to say, you have to believe that's when the money is going to come. You're going to have to believe, second gene key in your vocation, that everything is safe. And then you're going to be able to take that initiative to that revolution that Ashley speaks about, which is also what you believe. And fourth line, the people that you believe in. So really start to invite in that North Node of Sagittarius, which is about belief and expansion. And I think that's kind of the shift.
Mm-hmm.
That's here to happen. And even believe that there's something with the openness. Maybe you have believed that there's gonna, like, I don't know, I think there's even a shift in how you believe that you are going to be impacted of other people or the turbulence of emotions. Like, I think you just have to believe more in yourself somehow. I don't actually know if you don't, but there's something important here with you stepping into that Jupiter expansion Sagittarius fire energy of believing in life, believing in your allies. And it's super powerful theme with the 7 in your purpose and the 44 in evolution. Those 144,000 soldiers, who of these are the ones that are here to work with you in a direction that you believe in. That seems super important. And that's not some utopia out there. That's like something that the 5-1 makes practical and starts to do today. And that's how you're going to create value for yourself, value for the world. And that means money, because that's right now the way in the world that we change in.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Okay. Well, Heather, thank you for submitting your chart. And I hope that this was helpful and clarifying. And thank you, Robin. Thank you, Luis. Thank you all for being part of the inner circle, and for some of you being part of BBD as well. Actually, I think all of them are part of BBD. So thanks for being part of that with us and taking the journey. And I hope that for the rest of this month, you're able to tune into that root and really feel that foundation, that security, that stability, and like generate that for yourself. And if it's open for you, it's like, how are you able to like make peace with the inconsistency and know that safety for you doesn't necessarily mean grounded and rooted in this consistent root energy. It just means flowing with it and being resourceful in your other definition. So, yeah, any closing words for you?
Yeah, I would say this is actually quite practical in the root. So this month is about looking, how do you deal with stress? How do you manage stress? How do you manage money? Like, that's where we are. This is kind of the sense of security in the modern world where we are now. How are you managing the stress of this modern society? How are you managing your finances? That's going to be super important. If you kind of are on the journey with us, whether you're on the inside or on the outside, take the opportunity to look at that. Because you can be sitting and doing ohms and like breathing into your perineum every single day. But if you don't know how to manage your stress and your finances, it's still not going to be a person that is completely grounded and that feels nice to be around.
Yeah. Can you be here present and not needing to like check out to go meditate so that you can handle the stress? I mean, that is a good stress management tool, but you're here to be present. And sometimes it's not practical for you to be like, excuse me, I need to leave this airplane and go and meditate away from everyone. Sometimes you're stuck with people and you need to know how to be resourceful there, like dealing with the stress in the thick of it. You can't be like, peace out, I got to go take a mental health day. It's like when you're in the battle, when you're in the trenches, you can't say I got to leave. You're leaving everybody hanging so that you can go power yourself. So I think that allow yourself to be with the stress and stress management while you're still here, not this detachment and separation to go deal with it off in the corner. There's other ways to deal with it when you're in the thick of it. So, okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. And it was a great illuminated design session. And if you are still interested in joining the inner circle, please comment below and we'll get you those links. If you want an illuminated design chart reading, that's a recorded reading with us, 20 minutes. We have that link available for you as well. So if you're interested in either of those, reach out or post a comment and we'd be happy to get you set up with that. So thank you for joining us and have a lovely Tuesday. Bye.